MVP.
One in the air, left center field, back it goes, Harper, the swing of his life!
We never get ahead of himself. As
I know rent is due every day. It's always been that way for me. Always been a get better mentality every day, grow every day, be a better leader every day, be a better quarterback every day. And when that rent's due, I don't plan on missing no payments. So.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to 3 in the Keystone, episode 98.
What are you doing?
Chris Guest just in the nick of time, showing up.
What timing? What planning that it was.
Perfect entrance there from Chris. Al Ryan here as well, and myself, Adam Seltzer, for episode 98. I don't know if you guys did any research on number 98. Another one with a little bit of slim pickings, but I got to go with a guy who not only was a beast on the football field, but made some hay in the media world afterwards with his sideline reporting, and that's the Goose.
Oh, that's a good one.
Rest in peace.
The Goose.
That's a good one.
So Tony Saragusa, legendary defensive tackle from the Baltimore Ravens. You could also go on Jalen Carter if you wanted to, do the more present day type guys. Al, I know what you were saying, because you've been getting a little off the rails with these. You're going to go 98 degrees on me.
No. I just found an athlete though, brother. The last week I talked about having maybe the lesser sibling being in that draft that we did. Well, the lesser sibling of Kabir Baha Biamila, host of American Ninja Warrior, Akbar Baha Biamila, number 98.
Oh, I didn't know they were brothers.
No, I wouldn't do that. I would go oldies 98 if I was going to go 98.
That's a good one too.
Was that Paul Grassmanis number 98?
Oh, Scan Manis.
I don't think he was. I saw a list of Eagles that were 98. I didn't see him on the list.
He might have been 96, or I feel like there was a 98 in there somewhere from that era though.
I didn't see Grass Manis.
He might have been 96 then.
Guess you're not going to shout out Connor Bedard?
An
NHL prospect.
Speaking of NHL prospect, we're going to do the hockey to start off again, which will be 2 straight weeks, I believe. Built the 4th segment in here, the hockey segment. I saw a report that Michkov. So 2 reports back to back. One was Michkov, who was supposed to be like the second highest prospect behind Bedard in that draft, that only snuck to 7th when the Flyers picked him because of playing in Russia. There was a report that said that Briere and the Flyers brass had not had contact with him due to him still having his KHL contract and playing in obviously a war-torn country at this point in time. Hadn't talked to him. And then the next day there's a report that he's going to scrap his KHL contract and come over here right now this season in October.
Let's get all flyered up, brother.
Fired up with my LA Kings hat. What's up?
Well, speaking of LA Kings, this week's jersey, gentlemen, I was talking it up over at the Springfield Dad's house that I was at, Matt McConney. Who's this? I got a Portland Trailblazers 31. Dude, if you get this is some high level knowledge if you get this.
That's
one.
not Rod Strickland,
I'll tell you this. I might be the only person in America to have this jersey other than the person whose jersey is
that. Seth Curry was there for a minute. That's not Seth, is it?
Not Seth.
Is it like from like we were kids, or
It's
is it
like
like
it's from when we were like in high school? Yeah, high school.
Oh, I know who you probably got. You probably got Ruben Patterson.
No, the Kobe stopper.
Ruben Boomche.
It's not Strickland.
It's not Strickland.
Is it
Detlef Schrempf?
Not Detlef.
Portland 31.
You're getting colder with that guess. I'll tell you that.
It's not Sheed, obviously, because that would have been a common jersey.
She was 35, I think. I throw in the towel. Who is it?
Give up. Ready for this?
Oh,
Sebastian Telfair.
Sebastian Telfair.
I saw Sebastian Telfair in Trenton at the primetime shootout when he played against Dwight Howard's team, the Gwinnett, Upper Gwinnett, whatever high school in Atlanta. and Telfair was on Lincoln High, the rail splitters or whatever their name is. He was unbelievable.
Yeah, he was supposed to be the next big thing.
He was sick, dude.
Wasn't
And-
he the year after LeBron? And he was supposed to be like the next LeBron after
Yeah,
LeBron.
Dwight was 04. Guess if I don't want to blow up your spot, but you came back from that and said Dwight Howard was going to be a bust, and he sucked.
Well, yeah, because he had a good night, but it just was so quiet. He had like 30 and 20.
Wait,
And it was the quietest 30 and 20. Like people were like so enamored with Telfair that they didn't even care about Dwight Howard. He was just an old school center that just did the old school moves at 17 years old, did his little ho-hum 30 and 20. Also at that event was your boy Seltzer, DeJuan Blair.
Oh, that is my boy.
Who had a 40-piece nugget in that tournament.
Well, this is why the Hoops Report didn't make it. Guest came back saying that Howard was going to be a bust and Telfair was going to be something special.
It is crazy how some of those cards just don't pan out. Even like DeJuan Wagner, there's a ton of other cases like that just they get to the NBA and it's just a different game.
Yeah, he was there too, but not as a player. He was already in the league, but that's another story for another time.
It is. All right, gents, I want to jump into segment 1 tonight. You know, the Phillies are obviously playing great, but there was the Philadelphia Eagles schedule release last week. So I thought it might be fun to dabble ourselves into some football since we have all summer to talk a little baseball. And I want to go game by game, and we'll do our early predictions, and we'll do them again when the time comes before the season. But before we do that, we're all in on the preview videos, are we not?
Yeah, it's more just genius marketing by the NFL is what it is. They literally just they get their hands into everything.
I didn't realize every team had one until you mentioned it on the podcast. So I went through and watched a handful of them today. They're tremendous.
Every team didn't have one, I think, until last season or maybe even this season.
I think it was this season.
Because the Titans made the one last year that went viral, which was phenomenal. Theirs was exceptional. And now everybody went and jumped on board. Now, did you? I only watched about a dozen of them.
I was going to say, I didn't get a chance to watch really. I mean, I saw like ours, and that was really it. I didn't really see
I'm not doing this.
No,
I watched probably like 10. The Eagles one's awesome.
I disagree.
You don't like the Eagles one?
Is that the one you're talking about? The one when they had the like the doctor?
Yeah.
The therapists?
Yeah,
it was okay. It was all right.
So tell me what you liked about it, and I'll tell you what I disliked about it.
I thought some of the quips were funny when the lady was like, "That city is drunk," about New Orleans. I like that.
The Cowboys one was the funniest one.
That was the best part.
Cowboys ass.
Yeah.
With the Delco accent.
or when he was talking about the Buccaneers, he was like, "Why aren't they the Pirates?"
Yeah,
no, it was a baseball team called the Pirates. He's like, "His team called the Giants. What are we doing here?"
Yeah,
and he called the Washington the taco holders.
I thought it was. I don't know. I'm more leaning with Al on that one. I thought it was okay, but I mean, I think there was. I don't know. It was all right.
To me, it got a lot of praise. I thought it was way too scripted. Like they in the beginning of it, they say these are real fans and whatever they might be. I mean, obviously, the one dude that paints his face and goes everywhere, but the doctor, the psychiatrist, whatever he was supposed to be, I thought he was horrible.
Yeah, he wasn't great.
I didn't think he was funny at all. And he could, if he's not, he's the guy who's got to carry the whole video.
Yeah.
So
I thought
I tried to like it because it was Philly, but I didn't love it.
I thought the fans were really, really good. No.
Did you watch this year's Titans?
Yes. Also very good.
I thought that was the best one again.
Yeah. And it was good because they kind of changed it up a little bit where the people were actually kind of getting the teams, but they were providing other insights. Like the land of the cheese, when you say something like that for the Green Bay.
In the very beginning, the first one, the woman's like, "Oh, Joe Burrow. I love Joe Burrow." And then it's not the Bengals. It's Bears. Yeah. The best one, though, was because and what made I thought that better, too, was the Eagles schedule I already know. So I already know all the teams that are coming up. I don't know the Titans schedule. So when they got the guy, he's talking about, oh, they got rid of Kirk Cousins, and then it's the Vikings, and then like 3 things later, oh, they got rid of Kirk Cousins, and then it's the Commanders.
Yeah, I also thought the one black dude was funny when he was talking about the Patriots, and he was like, they won the Super Bowls with Brady, and then they're like, well, what happened after Brady? He gives it, he's like,
and then their team name is What Happened.
Yeah,
that was good. I thought the Lions one was good, but I'm a fan of Tim Robinson. I think he's funny. And then I thought the Steelers one was good.
Steelers one I had was good. That was the James Harrison one.
They're trying to make him laugh with the dad jokes.
Yeah.
And the one dude's like tells him the receding hairline joke. And then he's like, all right, we'll move on. And James Harrison's like, no, we're not done yet. I need you to explain that joke. Why would I find it funny?
Dude, the best thing about James Harrison was the Hard Knocks that year when he had the acupuncture. Did you ever see that one?
That.
So he went to the acupuncture lady and he asked her, he's like, what's the record for this? So she's like, what am I making up? It was like 205. He's like, give me 206 then. And she's putting the needles in them, and he's tensing and he's breaking the needles because of how strong his muscles are. He's breaking the acupuncture needles.
Yeah, he's a scary man, dude.
Yeah.
I also had the Bears one was okay. I thought the Mean Girls.
I didn't watch that. I didn't see
it was
that
kind of a knockoff of Mean Girls with DJ Moore starring in it. And the Falcons had one where it was like the Sims characters, and it was all right, but it was funny because they were ripping on like Kirk Cousins. They had him with the big chain on and the shirt off and stuff like that.
That was the Chargers, wasn't it? The Chargers was the Sims.
Correct, the Chargers. I'm sorry.
Drowning in the pool.
Yeah.
Falcons was weird. I didn't know what the Falcons were.
It was weird. I just thought the Kirk Cousins part was funny.
Yeah. And then oh no, that was it. Those are the only ones I watched.
Yeah, I watched a couple other ones, but none of them really stood out to me.
Yeah.
All right, without further ado, let's get into the bird schedule. And let's see what you got here. Al, what do you think? How many wins is Chris going to have for the Birds?
Guess definitely has. I'm going to say he has 15 wins.
Yeah, complete amnesia of the second half of the season.
Now, first of all, okay. Was I not right or was I not right when they went to the Super Bowl that year with the wins and losses? Was I not right with that?
Well, you were wrong more recently than you were right.
But okay, so should they have won what I said they should have won last year if they actually gave a damn? Should they have won those games?
Coulda.
What was your record for them 2 years ago? Wasn't it?
It was 14-3.
Yeah.
I hit it on the head, didn't I? Or was I?
You were on point.
So they would have won the Super Bowl had,
Listen, I want to start here though. Does anybody want to revise their predictions now that Devontae Parker retired?
No.
I'm
actually happy he did because I was not looking forward to that.
Yeah, we don't need
it. So listen, they will all know that they opened the season in Brazil on a Friday night. They will take on the Green Bay Packers. Let's start with Chris. You get the ball rolling for us here. What do you got for the Green Bay Packers in Brazil?
I think this might be one of the toughest games on the schedule to predict. I mean, week ones are always tough because you don't know what teams are coming out actually ready to go. Preseason's a joke. So, coming out here and seeing who's actually prepared is always a crapshoot, especially in this situation where you're playing across, in an environment where you've never played before, on a day you've never played before. Mm-hmm. I do believe in Jordan Love. I'm honestly, I'm torn on this. I could see it going either way. I'm going to say, based on experience, more. I think I'll take the Eagles. But I could see that going either way, honestly. I'm not gonna. I could be sold to go the other way on that.
Al?
I'm with you, Chris. I think it's a weird game to start the season. Like you said, it's on a Friday night. It's in Brazil. I mean, the good thing, I guess, is that it's the first game, so the guys are going to be extremely prepared for that, versus if they had to play that game in the middle of the season. Man, if they lose that game, that's going to be a long, 13 days before the Monday night game in Atlanta. To have to listen to sports talk radio, to have to listen to the 3 in the Keystone podcast. It's going to be a long 13 days. I do believe that top to bottom, the Eagles have a better roster right now on May 20th than the Green Bay Packers. I do believe that, some of the things we saw at the end of last season, they're going to be able to put them behind them. But it's going to be a really, really stressful, I think, 60 minutes. New coaches, can Jalen Hurts rebound? So I do have the Eagles as well, Chris. I wouldn't be surprised if this was a Jake Elliott with time expiring victory.
And by the way, real quick before we go to Seltzer, my uncertainty is not based on how I feel with the Eagles, because you all know how I feel with the Eagles. It's more about how I feel with the Packers. I think the Packers can have a really good year this year. So just for the record, I'm not saying I think the Eagles are going to struggle throughout the year and be at the Packers level as like they were last year. I think the Packers can be a really good team this year.
Well, Vegas kind of agrees with you guys. They have the Eagles as 1-point favorites, so they could see the game going either way. I'm going to zag on you guys. I'm going to take the Packers here, and again, I think
What else is new?
The heel.
What else is new?
Listen,
Viva Asaguillas.
I'm going to take the Packers. I'm going to take it for this reason. Chris, you mentioned it. The NFL preseason has become a complete joke, and the Eagles roster has changed over somewhat dramatically compared to what the Packers have done. The Eagles have new coaches. They're going to travel to a country that probably a lot of them haven't been to at this point in time. And I'll take the familiarity and the camaraderie of a group that ended the season on a high note, building towards something, rather than the group that was kind of falling apart and, didn't have as much going for them down the stretch. So again, I think it's close. I think it's a tough game to predict. But of course, I'm also bullish on the Packers as well. So
you could say the opposite of the Eagles. You could say that the Eagles are a team that has something to prove and a chip on their shoulder more than the Packers do also.
I feel like the Eagles should have had a chip on their shoulder the last 8 weeks of last season, and it didn't really show itself. So I want to see it before I predict it.
Fair enough. Like I said, we're going to be hearing a lot of Viva Aguillas over there.
All right, let's go to the Monday night game. This is the second week they'll play on Monday night against the Atlanta Falcons. We'll start with Chris. I think we can be pretty quick with this one.
Seltzer, I'm sorry not to do this again, but did either one of you guys hear of what's going on with that, by the way, as far as that whole green rule in Brazil, where they're in that area where they're not supposed to wear green, and that's because of their rival team? Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I know about it. I don't know if they said anything about what they're wearing though.
Like let's put the two green teams together in a stadium in a city where they can't wear green. That's awesome.
They might have to just go Packers wear white and the Eagles wear black.
Yeah, I would assume that's kind of what they're going to do.
Is the black still in their repertoire for their jerseys? Their jerseys?
I don't know.
Anyway, I think Atlanta, they're another team. I think their defense ain't worth a damn, but I think their offense could be really potent. But I think the Eagles coming back home on their home opener, they'll win that game.
Eagles minus 3.5 is the line. I'm going to double check that because that seems a little low. I'm taking the Eagles as well.
That does seem low. I'll take the Eagles.
I think they're just banking on Atlanta being able to score with the Eagles. As far as that offense is concerned, dude, they're on the low, kind of stacked on offense, man.
They got to prove it though. And do they have an O-line? Are they going to protect?
Well, that's the thing. That's
right?
Exactly. That's the question for them at this point, is that O-line, and obviously their defense is still suspect. But Kirk Cousins this year to go with Drake London, Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts. They picked up Darnell Mooney. They picked up Rondale Moore. Like, they got dudes.
Yeah.
And they got speed.
Yeah.
So
the other coach was a stiff.
If our secondary either has an injury or is still looking like they don't know what they're doing, then that could end up being a tough game. But I think the Eagles right now will win that game.
Yeah, home opener on Monday night. I think the Birds win.
And Kirk Cousins' record on Monday nights, as we all know, is awful.
I feel like this is the third year in a row we've played him in week 2. Didn't we play the Vikings week 2? Years in a row?
The Kirk Cousins game of yearly that we have, evidently.
All right, Al, you had the Birds as well?
Yep.
Okay. Let's go to week 3 on the road for the first time at Derek Carr and the New Orleans Saints. Eagles 3-point favorites going in. I will take the Birds. We all know how I feel about Derek Carr as a quarterback. I think they'll go into New Orleans and get the job done. Give me the Eagles in week 3. Al?
Birds. Saints stink. The Saints might be one of the worst teams in the NFL. They're terrible.
I'm going to go with the Eagles here. But they do, the Saints play the Eagles well down there. And really in general and overall, they played us well. But I'll go with the Eagles on that one. I'm not really banking on the Saints this year. That'd be a nice birthday present for Seltzer.
Oh, yeah, nothing I would love more than a little victory over D. Carr.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go to week 4. They're going back on the road, back down south again, and they'll play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Al, what do you got?
Man, I hate to sound like Chris, but I got
All we do is win.
I got a revenge game. A team that they embarrassed them last season. The Bucks. The Bucks embarrassed the Eagles and showed them the doors, showed them the exit door. Look, if these guys have any sense of pride, they're going to show us their colors right here in Week 4 because they should be. They're better than the Bucks, and they should be stomping them Week 4. So I have the Eagles in Week 4 against the Bucks.
Chris?
Devin White return game in that game also on the low. Yeah, I like the Eagles in that game. I'm not really worried about that one. I honestly, I'm more worried about New Orleans on the road in the Superdome than I am about the Bucks.
Eagles 2-point favorites in Vegas. I'll also take the Eagles in this one as well. I think great point as far as the revenge game, and I think we'll see what they're made of. Because I think you're right. I think it's a opportunity for them to show that last year everything went wrong at the wrong time, and that this team is better than what they showed in the playoffs. So I'll take the Birds there against Tampa Bay, and that takes us to the bye week in Week 5, which I don't think anybody really loves because it's a really early season bye.
Let me ask you a question though, both of you. What degenerate is already gambling on games throughout the season when so many things happen between now and then in an NFL season? How can you possibly have a spread or a line for these games?
Well, I like a good spread, and let me tell you something about this. This is strictly you're investing you're trying to cut the middle, I would imagine, if you're betting on like a Week 8 NFL game, because you're thinking, oh, the line is this, but by the time Week 8 rolls around, it's going to be the other way. So maybe you could potentially get a middle number. That's what I would imagine people do with this.
But they always say that the smart money comes in at the end. So if that's the case, I don't know. I also like a good spread too.
Here's an example. So Seltzers, you said that the Monday night game against Atlanta is only like a 3-point spread right now. So maybe you take the Eagles -3 right now, thinking that by the time you get to that Monday night game, it might be the Eagles -6. And now you can potentially take the Falcons +6 and just hope to get that middle number. Or you just sit there with the 3 and you're like, all right, well, I'm getting 3 points here.
Right.
Or it could be a trap and Hurts could get hurt in the preseason. And then now you're screwed. You got the Eagles -3. They got Tom, Dick, and Harry playing.
Yeah. Yeah. So the cousin Sal, and I listen to his betting podcast, he bets every player under prop for the season every year because of injuries and other stuff. They end up hitting like 60-something%.
Right.
I've had success with that with the under for like the first week because a lot of offenses still aren't fully on there. You know, they're not fully ready to roll yet. So interesting strategy. I don't know. I was just thinking like I didn't even know that they already had like those lines for these games that late. I knew Week 1. I didn't know they had like Week 4, 5, and so on.
Whole season's out.
That's crazy to me. That's ludicrous.
All right, Week 6, they're off the bye. They get the Cleveland Browns coming to town. The Eagles are 1-point favorites. I'm going to give the Eagles loss number 2 here. I think it's kind of a sleepwalk game coming out of the bye. Cleveland, is a team that you're not really going to necessarily get up for. It's an AFC game.
No, whoa.
I think that the Browns defense is really good. I'm very bullish on them. We'll see what Deshaun Watson can come through with. Obviously, we saw the success they had with Flacco at the end of last year. But I think it's one of those games that you just at the end of the game, you're like, do we really lose that game? I think the Browns come in here and give the Eagles their second loss on the schedule for me. Chris, you seem to disagree.
The Browns they might be one of the best teams in the AFC this year. What are you talking about?
I understand, but there's certain games that you get up for as a player. I'm not saying the Browns are bad.
So in theory, they could both be 4-0 going into that game. Like and you're at home and Deshaun Watson, as you know, Seltzer, I've never been a Deshaun Watson guy at all. So I'm obviously not now, but I never have been. I think I disagree with you with the game not getting up for that. I think that I think they do get up for that game. I think they win that game.
Al?
Coming off the bye, if this game were several different places on the calendar, on the schedule, I would think that this might potentially be an Eagles loss. Looking at Cleveland's schedule, this is their 3rd road game in a row. So they're at Las Vegas, at Washington, at Philly, and then they're staring down the barrel of Cincinnati and Baltimore. That's a hell of a stretch for Cleveland. So
that's a guy who did his research right there. That's a guy who did his research.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It came to the table. I'm all in. I got the Birds winning this game.
I mean, if they're not up for that game, especially like you said, out coming off of a bye, then we got bigger issues than the Cleveland Browns.
Yep, 100%.
All right, let's run through the next one pretty easily. I think we're all going to have the same thing here at the New York Giants. I don't think they've lost to the Giants since Lawrence Taylor was playing linebacker, but anybody have anything other than a W?
They lost to the Giants last year, number one.
True.
And number two,
Trying to black that out.
Number two, I think that the Giants are coming for blood that game with Saquon on our side now, but it's still not. I mean, the Eagles win that game.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I forgot to mention, too, the Cleveland game is the Kevin Stefanski homecoming game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's very true.
Yeah.
It's also the
Giants.
It's also my team is shit like the Cleveland Browns.
All right, next one will be a good one. They go to Cincinnati, where it will be the first time during the course of the year, at least as of now, that the Eagles are underdogs, as they will be 3-point dogs going into Cincinnati. Al, what do you have in that one?
They're going to have to drop a game at some point. I don't have them going 17-0. I think Cincinnati bounces back from a little bit of a disastrous season last year. I still believe in Joe Burrow, so I think Cincinnati hands the Eagles their first loss of the season.
Yeah, I agree with that. It reminds me of the spot when the Eagles played Pittsburgh in the 2004 season when they were red hot and they were undefeated and they just went into Pittsburgh and got their doors blown off. I could see that happening where they just, they're bound to take a bad loss. And unless Burrow's hurt, Burrow can, he's got a little bit of an injury prone coming at him at this point in his career. So if he's playing, I think the Bengals win that game.
I have it as an L as well, although I think that I'm a little worried about Cincinnati. Obviously, I haven't done a ton of research, but the T. Higgins situation is kind of, casting a large shadow on that team. They'll be without Joe Mixon for the first time this year. I think it's a game the Eagles can win, but for now, I'm going to leave it as a L on my end.
It's a schedule loss. You know what I mean? You can't win them all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's built in there. It's like Prego. the quote the great Mr. Kirsch. It's like Prego. It's in there.
I can't remember the last time I had Prego.
Well, yeah,
or Ragu.
I haven't even seen that.
That's true. They might be out of business. Prego.
No, it's definitely in the shop in the grocery store.
Really, I see Ragu all the time. I don't see Prego.
No, I've seen it. It's in there. Give it a look.
Our wives have been Prego since we've had Prego.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, next week they go Sunday night, Jacksonville Jaguars at home. I got this as a W, but I don't know, they need to be out of business. The Italian Stallions jumping in there. I got this as a W, but I think if they beat Cincinnati, they could drop this game the week after. But for now, I have it as a W because I have the Cincy game as the L.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. Those two games are probably a 1-1, but it's a Sunday night game. And I don't know, dude, have they mentioned, are they going to wear the Kelly Greens again this year? Because I would imagine that would be a Kelly Green game.
I think they are, but they haven't announced what games yet. But okay. Yeah, that's definitely a candidate for it. So you're starting to sell me a little bit on that Bengals game though, because if they go 1-1 in these two games, and I could see them losing this game as a one of those look ahead jobs, looking ahead at Dallas the next week,
right?
That might be interesting. I'm going to take it as it's such a random game to have as a prime time. Like, I mean, if you're not in Philly or Jacksonville, like, do you really care about this game for a Sunday night game?
It's a strange spot.
It's such a weird matchup, but I guess they're doing the Doug Peterson thing, but he's played here or he's coached here since that. So I don't know why I don't know. But give me the Birds on that one. I'll take the Eagles.
Al, you said W?
Yeah, I got the Birds here too.
Okay. Then we go to Dallas the next week. Chris, what do you got?
Loss. We just can't win there. I don't know why. I mean, I know why, but I mean, we can't get over that hump there. So we should win that game, but it's just, again, it's one of those things where we just struggle in that building.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a loss. You got to give Dallas some respect. They're still a good football team playing them.
I was an L as well. I think Dallas. I'm not sure if I'm going to be out on Dallas this year, but I'm leaning that direction. But I do have it as an L. the middle of the season, rough spot where, the monotony of the season can kind of build there, and a tough divisional game. I'll take the L on the road.
I mean, the Eagles would be the better team, but I just don't know what it is. I mean, they just can't play down there the last handful of years. So, I mean, did Dallas do anything this offseason so far?
Nothing.
No, they didn't do a thing.
But lose dudes and try to bring Zeke Elliott back?
Didn't they sign a punter or something? That was it.
It's been a strange offseason for them for sure.
Yeah.
Crazy. All right, then we have the short week and another divisional game as they get the Commanders at home. I have it as a W. You guys?
I thought about making this a loss just because we always seem to do weird shit against the Commanders. And on a short week after a tough game in Dallas, can't you see them coming out and having 3 points at halftime or something like that? With that said, I can't pull the trigger on that. I think they win that game, but it's a little bit of a tricky stretch for the Eagles this year. There's a 4-game stretch that we're in right now that I think is tough.
Yeah, I'm going to take a loss in this game, actually. I think that going back home from Dallas, more likely than not being a loss as it is. But like you guys have already said, the Commanders give us trouble, especially when they play here. And on a short week, I know they're going to have a short week as well. And they're going from a home game to, I think from against Pittsburgh, I think it is the week before that, to here for that Thursday matchup. But I'm a little bullish on the Commanders. I got to say, not necessarily this year, but overall the direction. I like Jaden Daniels a lot, but I think the Commanders are going to win that game.
You big Josh Harris guy. Guy breeds winning.
Yeah, something like that. He breeds something.
All right, next week again, Al. I think you hit the nail on the head. We had that stretch last year in the middle of the season that was kind of a murderer's row. It's very similar this year. They'll go Sunday night across the country to take on the Rams. I have it as an L. Again, you got that 2 divisional games followed up by traveling across the country. Just think it's a tough spot. I'll go L Sunday night against the Rams.
I have it as a loss too, and it's partly why I have the Washington game as a win, because as we're about to see here with this stretch of games at Dallas versus Washington, at LA, at Baltimore, if I don't have them beating Washington that Thursday night game, fellas, I'm telling you what, I got them going 0-4 in that stretch. So when I looked back at what I did, I said, I don't think they're going to have a stretch like that this upcoming season. I obviously hope they don't. But I could also see them, I could see them losing the Thursday night game and then coming back and rebounding with the win in LA. So this is almost another one of those spots where I can see them just going 1-1. And I'm not really too sure where the win's going to be and where the loss is going to be. But for now, for the purposes of this segment, I have them losing that game in LA.
Yeah, I think it's a win. I think that first of all, coming off of 2 losses at this point, Dallas and the Commanders at home, I think they definitely come out with balls ablazing in that game. They're better, I think, than they were last year, and the Rams are worse, and we beat them in LA last year. So I'm going to take a win in that game.
Yeah. I'm going to change. I want to go win.
Did I sell you on that?
Yeah, you did.
When you said balls,
balls ablazing, that was it.
That was all it took.
Yep, I'm in. All right, we continue with the tough part of the schedule here. We go at Baltimore. I have it as an L, and that's kind of the reason I wanted to change that Rams thing. I don't think they're going to lose 3 out of 4 in this spot. We talked many times, Al and Chris. This could be a 1-1 spot with the Rams being the L and the Baltimore being the W. I don't see them losing both of these games. So I gave them the W for the Rams. I'll take the L for the Ravens game. Where are you guys heads at?
I already said it. I have it as a loss. I still think Baltimore is going to be one of the better teams in the NFL, one of those upper echelon teams, so to speak. And it's tough. It's tough. I have them losing 3 of 4 and 4 of 6. But that's just kind of the way the schedule shook out when I looked it over game by game. So I have them losing that game.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually take a win in this spot. I think that the Eagles. Look, if I have them losing to the Commanders, that's a game that they should win. I'm having it as a loss. So a game that they probably should lose, I'm gonna flip it around and have them as have a win in that game, because that's how the NFL season always plays out. There's games that you're supposed to win that you don't, games that you're supposed to lose that you don't. So I think that's what happens here. I think the Eagles go into Baltimore against all odds. They'll probably be, I don't know about heavy underdogs, but they'll definitely be underdogs.
4-point dogs in the preseason line.
Yeah. So, give me the Eagles in that one.
All right. All right. Now we get to the stretch, the final 5 games, and I think the Eagles are blessed, despite how difficult the schedule is in the middle. It does ease up here at the end, and 4 of the final 5 games are at home. And we'll start with the Carolina Panthers. Anybody have anything different than a W there?
No, it's a win. And not only Seltzer for the final 5 at home, the last 6 games, they don't get on an airplane.
No, I was going to say that too, yeah.
Right.
Although it's the Miles Sanders revenge game if he's still in the team by then.
We'll see.
He might be on the Eagles by then. Who knows? Might come back.
Week after,
like Penn State, like how it used to be in the good old days. Al.
Hey, there we go. I'll take it.
Week after, Pittsburgh comes to town, led by Russell Wilson. Potentially, Fields is where?
Al's already bought tickets for that.
Yeah.
He's already going to be there for that one.
Yeah. I got a dub.
Yeah. Can he pick a revenge game? I got a dub.
Yeah. Hopefully he's not playing in that game. I would. Yeah, that's a win.
All right. Then we go the one road game left on the schedule. They go to Washington. I'm also going to say dub there. You guys?
Yeah, I agree.
I have them losing this game.
Ooh, you're a big Commanders guy. You thought about it earlier?
Yeah, I have them losing this game. But what I don't like about this is if they lose this game and they lose the other games that I predicted they would lose, they're going 3-5 on the road, having lost the last 5 road games in the schedule. So that would not be great. But that's what I have here. So
after they close the way they closed last year, anything can happen, man.
Yeah.
All right, then the final 2, we got the Dallas Cowboys at home.
I got to win.
Your thoughts?
No, I have a win for that one. I think that's a meaningful game where hopefully we are already in the driver's seat to clinch the division by then. But if not, possibly that might be a clinching division game. So I think that they're going to be riled up at home for that one. So I think the Eagles win.
Yep, I have a win as well. Hopefully that's a game where that could be like the where we get the bye week in week 18 because that just shuts the door on hopefully the division, if not more. So I got to win there.
Yeah, I don't see him getting swept by the Cowboys. I got to win as well. And then we close out. I think we're all on the same page. You're home against the Giants. I have a W. Again, assuming the game has some meaning to it.
I've lost there for sitting guys.
Okay.
So, it's funny. Obviously, last year when it's happening, we don't want to lose a division. We don't want to, be in the wild card. Dallas's schedule is harder than ours because, having to play those top teams, having to play Houston, having to play San Francisco. I mean, that's potentially 2 extra losses on that schedule for Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to win against the Giants.
Yeah, win against the Giants.
All right. So what does that make your guys' overall record? Again, these are early season predictions. We'll come back with our final ones as the training camp closes. What do you guys have as your record at this point, Chris?
Listen, the fact that I have 14-3, but real quick, I know it sounds like, well, how can you say that after the way the last year ended? And I think there was a lot that we've discussed that's gone into why that happened. And I just don't think that's going to happen. People forget that team was still 10-1 at one point. All right. And that was still playing half-ass, and they were 10-1. If they get their heads on their shoulders right, they're still as dominant as they could still be as dominant as they were in 22. I really believe that. So I'm not buying the huge fall off of this organization. I'm still taking 14 wins.
Al?
I am at 12-5. I think this team is going to bounce back. I don't think it's the downfall of the organization at all. I think that last year was strange, to say the least, with the way that season ended. Look, it's a big season, man. Because if they don't come out and they don't prove that last year was not the norm, that it was an outlier, then it could be the downfall. Then we're talking about Nick Sirianni being out of here, and we're potentially. Guess I know you're not going to want to hear it, but you know how this city is. We're potentially talking about Jalen Hurts and whether or not he's the guy if this season doesn't go the way we want it to. So I think it's a big year. I have a lot of faith in this team, though. I think they're still really talented on both sides of the football. They upgraded in places they needed to. I think 12-5 is probably accurate. I could see them winning 13 games, like you said, Guest. But I think they're clearly the division favorite.
I think 12 is the floor, honestly. I think 12, and I mean, I'm saying 14, and I easily could see them losing still to that Packers game in the opening week, which would be 13-4. But I think 12, like I don't see 6 losses on that schedule.
So I have 12-5 as well. I think they do have the bones. I mean, we've talked about it many times. The bones of a great team, Chris, but I vehemently disagree with the floor. There's a world where the same thing happens at the end of the last year happens this year. And to me, the floor for this team could be like 6 wins. And we're talking the bottom of the bottom, in my opinion. I think they're a good team. I want them to believe in it. I think they have, like I said, I think they have the bones with a good quarterback, a really good offense. In addition to Saquon will help. Defensively, they've patched up a few spots, we hope. You know, they obviously lose a guy like Reddick. Didn't really replace him outside of some unproven pass rushers. So there are still some questions on the defensive side of the ball. I'm going to believe that last year was a little bit of an aberration, but I do think the floor is lower than what you're saying.
The question marks on that team last year and the logic behind everything that happened from all accounts, even guys that literally were a part of it, was the coaching. That coaching has been adjusted.
Not
They
the
have
head coach.
guys that are professionals now that are in those situations, in those spots as offensive coordinator, defense coordinator. And I just feel like with Kellen Moore, Jalen Hurts with the tutelage of Kellen Moore at this point. Jalen Hurts struggled last year against the blitz, and I think that was a huge issue. And I think that the scheme didn't help him or do him any favors. Kellen Moore, last 5 years, his team has been in top 5 in yards against blitzes. So if it ain't this year, Al, your point, if it's still an issue, I gotta look at the quarterback. Because the coach has shown his pedigree with that kind of stuff, that it's been successful, his track record. So if all of a sudden we struggle with that kind of stuff again this year, I gotta look Jalen in the mirror and be like, hey, bro, what's the deal? But my biggest fear is Hurts gets hurt and then Pickett comes in, plays well, and we get morons calling for Pickett to be the new quarterback of the Eagles.
It'll happen.
I know it will. That's what I'm saying. That's like one of my biggest fears of this year is for him to get hurt and miss a few games, and this guy comes in and everybody's going to forget all about him, that he was in the Super Bowl just 2 years, not even 2 years ago, and an MVP not even 2 years ago, and just be willing to throw him to the wolves for this guy because he's on a hot streak on a bender here. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully Jalen stays healthy and we do what we're supposed to do.
All right, so that's your very beginning Eagles preview predictions. We'll have a lot more to come as the offseason progresses. But we wanted to give you guys a little bit of a taste of some NFL football here in May.
Dallas' schedule is nuts, though.
I haven't looked at it.
It's not. I mean, they got Cleveland, they got Baltimore, they got Pittsburgh, they got the 49ers, Detroit, Atlanta, they got Texans, obviously the Eagles, Cincinnati.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah, they open the season at Cleveland. Like, that sucks.
That's a L. That's a bonafide L.
I'm worried about the Cowboys this year. I'm not that sold on that.
I'm worried about them. I'm worried a little bit about them.
I did mention it's May, and while we're talking football in May early on, the real sport going on here is the NBA playoffs, which we've talked about the past few weeks. But we now have our conference finals that are set. In the East, it'll be the Boston Celtics and the Indiana Pacers. And in the West, it'll be the Dallas Mavericks and the Minnesota Timberwolves. I want to at least start with what happened last night, because to me, we need to talk a little bit about that series, because I asked the question last week, what was more impressive, Minnesota going in and taking the first 2 games in Denver, or Denver responding when everybody wrote them off to get the 2 wins in Minnesota, which they ended up following up with a 3rd win. At that point, I think we all kind of thought that series was over and they buried Minnesota. And then for Minnesota to respond and not only win game 6 at home, but to go into Denver and win 3 games in that series in Denver, what an accomplishment for that franchise, which has been cursed for so many years with just piss poor basketball. And I couldn't be happier for that group overall to pull off something like that. It was amazing to watch.
Yeah, who's there? Who is it? Is the director of player personnel or the GM or who is it that went from Denver to Minnesota?
Yeah, it was. I think it was the GM or an assistant GM that went over there.
It's insane that the man built Denver in this model, in this mold to be a championship team, and then he goes to Minnesota and he brings in Rudy Gobert and everybody's criticizing him for it, but the guy knows exactly what he's doing. He's bringing in guys that are going to be able to beat his former creation. What a story that is. That's incredible. Good for him.
Sounds like that guy should be the main acquisition for our team.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what's crazy though is you think about it, everybody ridiculed the Gobert trade.
Yep.
But it was marked last year after they had a disappointing season as one of the worst trades in NBA history.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
No, and it's still questionable. But if they go and win a ring, it's not questionable anymore.
Right.
It's not. And I didn't think he was great last night. I thought Towns actually was the best player on Minnesota last night. But what those guys bring as far as defensive intensity and size, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how it plays out. I guess we could jump into, the battle of the small markets here, the Dallas versus the Minnesotas, and how you see it playing out. I'll kind of open it up with, I think it's a nightmare matchup for Dallas. I really do. Because you don't, Chris?
I think it's an even series, honestly. I mean, the star power is everywhere. I mean, Dallas obviously with Luka and Kyrie, and Minnesota with Ant and Towns, and I mean, it's a small market matchup, but it's not a small market on the court in terms of the talent. That's for sure.
Here's where I see the problem. Is I thought in that Oklahoma City series, I thought Luka had a nice series. I didn't think he played great. Kyrie did not have a great series against Oklahoma City. But I thought where they found their advantage was the Daniel Gaffords, the PJ Washingtons, even Carroll's finest, Derek Jones Jr. Those guys were able to provide size and girth on the glass. And they pounded Oklahoma City, which was their one weakness all year, is they weren't a great rebounding team and they were small. Now you're going to ask those guys to go up against men. And when I say men, like we mentioned, Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns, Naz Reid, those dudes are strong. They are a lot bigger than Oklahoma City. And they have the wings in Edwards and McDaniels to throw at Kyrie and Edwards and those type of bodies. I just think they're looking at a different type of physicality when it comes to this series. And I'm not sure that front line of Dallas, as much as I like those guys, I don't know if they're ready physically to take on that in this series.
I mean, I think Lively has done a great job for Dallas on the front court for them.
He has. That's a good name, but he's still thin and he's not. Again, it's easy.
You can't talk that now. The guys are in the. I mean, he's in the conference finals.
I know, but the matchup. We know what the NBA is about matchups, Chris, and like when you're going against Chet Holmgren and Jalen, not the other Jalen Williams, those guys physically aren't Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns, and Naz Reid.
No, but I mean, I don't think. Look, I still don't really send anybody to guard Gobert. He's going to get points off of putbacks, dunks, alley oops, all that kind of stuff. But he's not a guy that you're going to really be worried about as far as defensively is concerned. But I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I think it's going to be a good series. I really do. I don't see it being lopsided one way or the other. I'll wait until we pick it to say what I want to say as far as the fun stuff with the next few weeks in the NBA that could potentially happen. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a fun one though. How about your boy what's his face? KCP doing a Tobias impression last night.
No. Michael Porter Jr. doing a Tobias impression.
Him too. Yep. Porter, 5 points in 40 minutes.
Michael Porter Jr., $35 million, had 25 points the last 4 games of the series.
Oh,
7 points last night.
That's terrible.
He averaged 6 points per game the last 4 games of the series.
One reason I was saying that's because technically KCP played actually longer. He played more than Porter did.
Yeah, but KCP's role is not to score.
Right.
Michael Porter's job is he's making $35 million. That's the Tobias impression.
Now I'm gonna wheel back around. I'm gonna circle back around, and I'm gonna say what I've said all along. Last year was very likely an outlier of having a title with a team centered around a center. It's tough to do.
They swarmed him.
It's tough to do, man. I mean, Jokic had 34 and 19 and 7 assists last night. But at the end of the game, what was like, you know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't there for, like, you have to win in this. If you have a dominant center or a really skilled center, you got to have your Robin turn into Batman in the playoffs. And your Robin's got to be a wing or a guard, but it's got to be someone that can be able to handle the ball, shoot the ball, score the ball at every level of the court. And Murray was there. He had 35 last night, but they just ran into a buzzsaw. Minnesota, like, I mean, you talk about impressions. Edwards did a Tatum impression from last year against the Sixers when Game 6 he couldn't make he couldn't throw a beach ball into an ocean, and then that fourth quarter came and it was lights out. And that's exactly. I mean, he's a killer, and that's how Ant-Man was last night. He killed those guys.
Let me counter with the first part of what you said. I think the difference between this year's Denver team and last year's Denver team was the two bench guys that they had, and Bruce Brown and Jeff Green. And they never found – they wanted Christian Brown who's okay. They wanted Peyton Watson to be those guys. And last night – I watched the second half of the game this morning. I taped it last night. And Jokic played 46 minutes last night.
47.
And he looked Embiid-ish. By the fourth quarter, he had nothing left. And like I mentioned earlier, Minnesota is shuffling Gobert, Towns, and Reed on him. So you're getting fresh bodies that are up in you the entire game. By the fourth quarter, he had nothing left in the tank. That was just a tough matchup because those guys have those type of bodies, and Denver couldn't afford to go to their bench because they just didn't have any faith in it.
I've never seen Jokic look as dejected and as frustrated as he did in that series. I mean, they removed him from being able to find a spot on the floor where he can be effective in those 4 wins. I've never seen anything like that. It reminded me of what the Knicks did to the Sixers with the way they swarmed us with Josh Hart and DiVincenzo, and all these guys just kept coming after us. And it was like we didn't have an answer for it. And it reminded me of that. But Minnesota's a much better team than New York.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. And I just watching that game last night, I watched when like it was 20-point lead. And then Minnesota just kept in the second half to open up the second half, just chipped. And you could feel the energy in the building. You could feel it. It felt like a game that we'd seen all the time in our building. Like you could feel it. And once it got to like single digits, I was like, oh, the Reaper's coming. I could feel it. Yeah. And that's exactly what happened. Minnesota I think they could feel it too. I think Minnesota could feel it. And Celtics, we've always talked about it all the time about momentum being a strange, funny thing. They just couldn't. It's like a train. You can't stop it. Like when you have momentum, if you're on the positive side of it or it's coming against you, you can't. It's like you can't do anything about it. You just got to try to weather the storm as best as you can. And obviously last night, Denver just couldn't do it.
Yeah. And my final thought on the series before I ask you guys a couple other questions is, we mentioned Jokic is one of his best skills, even better than scoring, is his ability to pass the ball. And you mentioned the role players, Chris Porter and Pope, and even Jamal Murray at 35. I think he had 25 in the first half. And Christian Braun. Jokic was passing the ball to those guys, and some of them didn't look like they wanted to shoot it at all. The other ones were just missing shots. And when that's happening, you're going to get swarmed even more because they're just going to say pass the ball to those guys.
And that's what I'm saying. Like you just felt that negative energy in the building, and those guys on the court had to have. I mean, like we said, they played. Gordon and Porter played 76 combined minutes, had 11 points. Gordon had 4 points. Porter had 7 points in all those minutes in a game 7 at home with a 20-point lead. How much more Philly can you get?
The Philly box score.
My God.
So we're going to see the two stars in Edwards and Doncic collide, and we saw another one get eliminated. I wanted to ask you guys this question. I texted you this earlier. I wanted to do an F, marry, kill, but it's too you can't do it for these guys. If you had to rank these guys right now, just on their skills, Edwards, Doncic, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. How are you ranking the three of them?
Well, on skill, you're saying, or on like combining that with potential success?
No, just at this very moment. So just right now.
Who you got right now today?
So I'll start from the bottom up. So I'll go, man, Jesus.
It's so hard.
It's so hard.
You got to go SGA 3. You got to. I mean, he was excellent in the second half of their game, even though they didn't pull it out. But I mean, he tried to put them on his back. And then I go. I mean, I love Ant, dude. I think that he's becoming like a top 3 favorite player of mine in the league. But Luka does everything that you need him to do. I mean, he can fill the box score up top to bottom. I guess you got to put. Oh, man, I don't know. Al, go ahead. What do you think?
Tapping out. Hot tag. Guess we're in the same mind frame here. I got SGA third, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If he gets the 3-point shot in his repertoire, he's going to be close to unstoppable as an offensive player.
I have him as a top 10 guy right now.
Yeah,
I think he's learned that in this point with the playoffs he's had. He's a top 10
They're
player.
All three of them are top 10 players.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I have him as 3 right now. And I'll tell you what, if OKC would have beaten Dallas and Minnesota would have lost to Denver, I might put him over Ant in this exercise. But since it didn't happen that way, I'm taking Ant because Ant has shown he has the leadership skills. He has all of that moxie to bring up the players around him. Even though if you look at his numbers, scoring wise, he's the worst of the 3. His shooting percentages are the worst of the 3. He doesn't really get to the line as much as you think a guy like him would. So I'll take him at 2 only because, again, I think he has the intangibles in place that Shea may or may not have. I'm not saying Shea is not a good leader. I think Shea is probably an excellent leader as well. And Luka's number 1, man. Like it's been really quiet on the Luka is a top 3 player in the world front, but he is still a top 3 player in the world, in my opinion. Luka does it all. He damn near averages a triple-double. He's done it with having to learn how to play with Kyrie Irving in the backcourt. He's just an offensive just mastermind. The way he moves the ball, the way he shoots the ball, the way he takes it to the hoop. I have Luka at the best of those 3.
Yeah, he's a strong guy too. Let me just say real quick before you go, Seltzer. Enough with the I know he's a great player, but this league right now has too many young and extremely talented guys to continue to just lazily give Jokic the MVP. I'm sorry. Like, you could have made an argument for all 3 of these guys we're talking about to still be MVP this year, and you could have, and I would have been fine with it. I think that it's getting to a point where you're just like, these guys vote, they look around each other like, Jokic. Yeah, we do Jokic. You want to do Jokic? All right, let's do Jokic. Like, there's a lot of guys in this league right now, especially, like I said, these 3 that should have and could have won MVP this year. And I'm not saying Jokic had a bad year by any stretch. He had a really good year as well. But, I mean, come on, guys. Like, these guys deserve to get their flowers.
I do think that what happened was, I agree with you, actually. It was so much Embiid versus Jokic, Jokic, that when Embiid went down and wasn't going to hit that qualifying, everybody was like, well, I guess it's Jokic. And then from January on, the conversation just kind of died. You're right.
I said it back in, I think, December when we were making predictions about MVP, and I predicted that Joel Embiid wasn't going to meet the game qualifiers. And I actually said I thought SGA was going to win it over Jokic, which how can you tell me that Jokic is more valuable to his team than SGA is to his, or that Luka is to his? Or you're 100% right, Chris. This award's become a little bit of a joke.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I had SGA as my MVP, and then I had, as much as I hate to say it, I had Brunson second. I didn't even have Jokic in my top 2 personally.
And you can't argue that either. How can you say that Jalen Brunson isn't? Like, what are the Knicks without Jalen Brunson?
Exactly.
Yeah, but I think at the same time, like, there's a little bit of like, what would the Nuggets be without Jokic? I think we found out last night, right? I mean, the way those guys are. So listen, I agree with you guys. I think it was they made it seem too clear cut that it was Jokic the entire time when there should have been more conversation around it. But I do
And
think
we're not-
I don't want to cut off Jokic's legs. Like, I think he's more valuable than Brunson at this point.
But it's criminal too. OKC had they were the number 1 seed in the West.
I agree. Him and Shea should have been a conversation. There should be more of a conversation.
So I completely disagree with that. By the way, that Jokic is more valuable than Brunson. Like that team is not even a playoff team without Brunson. Who's scoring points for that team? At least the Nuggets have Murray and Porter during at least the regular season.
Yeah, I mean the Knicks had Randall for 2/3 of the season.
Yeah, come on, man. I can't put him in the same category as those guys that Denver has. So I think that he's a good player. I'm not saying he's trash, but he's Jamal Murray. I'll tell you that.
Let me capstone the Shea the rank the 3 conversation. We'll do our Western Conference picks, and then we'll go to the East real quick. I'm going to agree with you guys, but I'm going to flip Shea and Ant right now. It's very close. I have no issue if you want to put Ant over Shea. I just think Shea is a little more polished as far as a scorer. I think Ant is still a little bit raw in that regard in what he does. However, I think if we're talking 3 years from now, I think Edwards might be the best player in the entire league. Like I
don't even think it's going to be that long.
It might not be. You're right. I just think Shea has a touch more power. I mean, Shea's averaged over 32 years in a row on really, really good percentages. And he's carrying that team. Listen, like I said, I'm not going to argue with you if you want to go Ant. I have no issue with it. I do think Luka currently is a step above those guys. And the one thing we haven't talked about is Luka's ability to pass is significantly better than those other 2 guys.
Yeah, right.
And create. So I think it's Luka. I'll go Shea, and then I'll go Ant. But again, it's really, really close.
It's a shame that SGA wasn't good enough to trade for Ben Simmons at the time.
Please. You know, it's crazy. You talk about potentially Ant being the best player in the league 3 years from now. He might not be because of the talent in this league. This league is full of talent. Guess there's a young man down in San Antonio that you doubted that might be in the running for that award as early as probably 2 seasons from now.
Yo, let me tell you, the Spurs are coming, man. Pause. They're on their way. They got 2 lottery picks this year too. Not that it's the best draft to be having those picks, but even if they don't want to use them, they can flip those for another star to go next to my man.
Yeah, as long as they can get Jeremy Sochan and Devin Vassell out of that lineup.
I like Vassell, man.
You got to get something.
Yeah, I mean they got some guys that can play, but they're individually decent guys, but as a collective team, I don't know if that's who you want to.
These are a bunch of Ish Smiths. Like these are just all replacements.
No, they're better than Ish. Come on,
I think you're going to say Ish is better than them.
No, these guys are better than Ish, man. Come on, don't be disrespectful to Keldon Johnson.
Jeremy Sochan sucks, dude.
Well, I mean, him and his he's ripping off the Dennis Rodman Demolition Man '90s gimmick with the hair color and all that kind of stuff. But no, but they got Vassell and Johnson. They're decent guys. But I mean, look, like I said, you get 1 or 2 guys that are legit around Wembanyama. That team is going to be a championship caliber team real quick.
Yeah,
I
agree.
All right, let's get predictions for the Western Conference, and we'll jump to the East. I'll start. I got Minnesota in 5. I think it's a really tough matchup for Dallas. I think Minnesota builds on the momentum of the Denver series. Maybe it goes to 6, but I'm going to pick it. I'm taking them in 5.
I'm going to take Dallas in 6 in this game. This series. I think Luka. This is a big time for Luka and his legacy. This series right now, and I think that I'm going to put him in 6 games. I'm not going to let it get to Minnesota for Game 7.
I think Minnesota in 6. I agree with a lot of what Seltzer was saying. I think this could be a big Cat series. I think Cat's going to give that front line fits. He's so talented offensively, even though like he's such a dog in a bad way. But he is a goof. Did you see that clip of him saluting to the crowd? And the comment was, "Man, nobody's saluting you. What are you doing?"
Did you see that press conference after the game? The press conference after the game was kind of funny.
Nah,
yeah, they're definitely smelling themselves. But you know what? Yeah. Like you gotta have to win a title, you gotta have swag like that. Like you gotta be confident to go in teams' buildings and take their heart.
Yeah. It was the question was something along the lines of like, you guys don't have a ton of experience. Like, how did you end up doing this? And then I think they were like, well, we lost the last 2 years in the playoffs. And then I think Ant was like, damn, we've been losing for 20 years.
Yeah, he's but again, like Al, I think you said earlier, like I mean that he's a winner, and you know, Cat as the main guy, as the main dog on that team, couldn't get it done to get them this far. And when they got Edwards, now like he's getting them there. I mean, he's definitely a winning pedigree kind of guy. All these guys, I mean, it's exciting for the NBA. Like it's not like we said earlier, it's not a big market situation right now, but like if you're a real fan of basketball, there's still a lot of dope dudes playing.
There's so many good guys across the entire league. Let's jump to the Eastern Conference here. We'll have the Boston Celtics and the Indiana Pacers. Probably not as much to talk about for this series. Boston really hasn't gotten tested. Does Indiana have a chance in the series, Al?
No, not at all. This is the worst conference final series in a long time. This is terrible. I have no interest in this series. I mean, honestly, it's probably not as bad as the Bucks Hawks, but it's bad.
Yeah, I'm not a. This Indiana team has not been anything special to me all year. I think they're going to get a couple games in this series because the one flaw with the Boston Celtics is they tend to let their foot off the gas. We saw it in game 2 in both their series. They really should have swept both of those teams easily. And the one thing that Indiana will do, man, is they will push the pace. And if you don't bring your energy on a given night, they will steal a game just from the fact that they'll get up and down as much as they do. Obviously, McConnell's been fantastic. Halliburton has shown flashes here or there. But they just play really, really hard. And I think they're going to manage to steal a game or two. But I don't think it's anything that Boston's going to end up fearing. I got the Celtics in 6, and it won't be that close of a series.
Yeah, see, I think that I mentioned it last week, I think it was 2 weeks ago. I said that Indiana is one of those teams where it depends on what team shows up in the postseason, determines what they're going to be for their outcome. If they come out as that top scoring offense and they bring that into the postseason, they're going to be a problem. But if they are easily tamed from the man's game of postseason defense, then they're going to be out quick. They've shown so far that they can bring that offense. Now, I don't think they're going to beat the Celtics, but I think it could be a 6-game series, similar to how we were with the Knicks, where even though we lost in 6 games, the differential was minute in terms of the overall points and how close that series was. It was like microscopic. So I think the Celtics win in 6, but I think it's a tough series, actually. And in fact, this year, Boston, they had a rare 5-game series this year instead of the 3 or 4 because they played each other in the in-season tournament, and Boston won it 3-2. So the Indiana's played them pretty decent this year.
And from what I heard this morning, I was following it, I think only one of those games had Siakam.
Correct. So we'll see what happens. I think that a lot of guys, Al, I think you're one of them. I think you're sleeping a little bit on Indiana. I think at this point you got to give them a little respect now. I think you got to give them a little respect. I'm not saying they're going to win it, but you got to give them a little respect.
Chris, hand me a warm glass of milk, a pillow, and a blankie, my friend, because this thing's going to be over in 5 games. It's been 7 years since an Eastern Conference final has ended in less than 6 games. And that was when Cleveland beat these Celtics under the Tyronn Lue era. So I got the Celtics beating the Pacers in 5 games. As you said, Seltzer, the Celtics are guilty of playing with their food at times. So I do think they will drop 1 game. But we're looking at a gentleman's sweep here. I got Boston in kind of a cakewalk.
And I will say 6.
Yeah, he said 6.
Yeah, I will say, yeah. Indiana's beaten Boston, I believe, twice in Boston this year. But Boston did put up 155 on them earlier in the beginning of the season. I think it was in Indiana. But dude, I don't know, man. Now I will say this real quick before we move on. If Indiana somehow pulled this out and won this series, what does that do for the Tatum, Jaylen Brown argument? Are they going to break these dudes up? What do you think? Like, you think
Missoula goes first if they don't win the series.
That's a huge issue if they don't win. I think at this point the championship, let alone the conference.
They have to win the series, or there will be major changes. I don't know if they break everybody up if they don't win the championship, depending on who they play and how the series plays out. But there's changes to that team if they don't win this series.
Because I'll tell you, that fan base is not sold fully on. Like they're very much like us in the sense that they think this team is a really good team, but they're waiting for the other shoe to drop. And I don't think that they're sold that this is a definitive bona fide favorite to win the title this year, because this crew has not carried the groceries home, so to speak, yet. And I think they're a little nervous about that. So that all comes to play too. Like nerves could be an issue with these guys also, man. And Boston, for some reason, nobody knows why they don't win more games at home in the postseason. Like, it's a strange thing, but they've been the most beatable at home.
Yeah, they have it. Both their losses are at home in this playoffs. All right, I want to give you guys an option quickly. Do you want to do surprise of the playoffs and MVP of the playoffs, or you want to do 10 minutes on the PGA Championship?
I'd rather do the NBA, honestly. You know that. I mean, you already knew that. So.
I know.
Good for Xander.
All right. Let's do the surprise of the playoffs then. I'm going to go with something that Chris. I'm going to push back on. You pushed on a week or two ago. I'm going to put how little regular season basketball actually means in the playoffs, and that we now have in the playoffs a 1 seed, a 3 seed, a 5 seed, and a 6 seed in the conference finals. A year after, we had 2 7 seeds in the conference finals. We had yesterday 2 road teams go in and win Game 7. We had, again, Chris, you mentioned the Boston Celtics have not defended their home court. I just don't think that home court matters as much as it used to 15, 20 years ago. I think the way these teams shoot the 3 ball now, there's a high variance. And I think all that matters is, can I get to the playoffs healthy, and can I get the right matchups? And I think those are the most important things rather than home court, because I just don't think – I think these teams are good enough to go in and win on the road when they have to. And we saw it yesterday. We saw Minnesota win 3 games in Denver, which is one of the toughest places to play. They won there 3 times.
And
I just think
it's down 20 in a Game 7.
Down on the road. It's different. It's just different. And all that matters, I mean, you see the intensity pick up. There's no sport in the world that is as different regular season, postseason as basketball is, in my opinion.
Well, I would counter. I'll see that, and I'll raise you that. Talk to the folks in Indiana about home court not mattering. They haven't lost a game yet on their court. All right, so I'll die on that hill. I'm always on the other side of that argument. I will die on that hill that it does matter in the sense of seeding. You always still want to take your chances in front of your people. You don't want to be going on the road in these major spots as if you don't have to. That's just it. Like, nobody's playing for a 5 seed. Bottom line, like, you're playing to get as high as you can in the standings throughout the year so that you can host these games and hopefully hoist that trophy in front of your folks and not in someone's basement because you can't be on the floor because it's not your building.
But my counter to that is, my argument is that the most important thing is being healthy. And the 2 teams that Indiana played had no Giannis. Dame Lillard was out of action. Then they got to play the Knicks, who had 4 guys out, including Anunoby, who got hurt in the first game of the series. So, like, that to me plays as much as why they're undefeated at home as anything else.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, that's, you want to have your guys being able to be on the court, but it's a shame because it's really skewed because you, like you just said, they didn't have their full arsenal. So, right. Yeah, they didn't win games at home, but they also didn't have a full roster, and including their main guys. So, like I said, I'll still always die on the hill that the regular season does matter. Now, I'm not saying that you got to, games in February, you're not sitting there like sweating to the end to pull it out for these circumstances. But at the same time, it matters. I think it matters. I think it does. I think ultimately you still want to play at home.
All time in the NBA playoffs, Game 7 history, the home teams are 112 and 37. So 112 wins. That's a 75% winning percentage. So it does matter.
But I think that more recently is what I'm saying. The last 5 to 7 years, I think those numbers would be different.
I'll take
I
his.
mean, look, we watched the Sixers lose Game 7 at home to the Atlanta Hawks.
I was there. I'm still heartbroken.
Right. All right, hit me with your guys' surprises so far in the playoffs.
My surprise is the Timberwolves run, the way they've done what they've done and how they've gotten to where they've gotten to. Hindsight, it's easy to say, oh yeah, I could have seen this coming. They swept the Suns, who obviously went out last offseason.
God's gift in the preseason. Picked
up Bradley Beal. All of a sudden, Grayson Allen's playing pretty good basketball. We know who they have on the team: Booker, Durant. They sweep them, make them look foolish. And then, as you said, Seltzer, they win 3 games in Denver en route to a 7-game series win over the defending champions and coming back from that 20-point deficit in the third quarter, where I believe Denver was at as high as 97% to win that game in the third quarter. So for me, it's the way the Timberwolves have done what they've done. That's been a surprise to me.
Chris?
Yeah, I mean, Al kind of took my thunder with that. I was going to say Minnesota. I'll still agree with it, but I guess I'll also say like the other end, the other conference, like Indiana. Like I said, I honestly didn't think that they'd be able to play offense like this in the postseason. I didn't think that would happen. I know it's a little bit more flexible with gameplay in the playoffs now, with the refs being, calling soft fouls, and it's not as physical as it probably should be, even though it's still physical, but not as physical as it used to be or could be still. But I mean, they've still brought it offensively. And like I said, I don't think this is an easy series for Boston. I think that this is going to be a fun series. And I think that their run, and let's not, I mean, they don't really have a lot of star power either. I mean, Halliburton is there, but other than that, I mean, they got a lot of guys. They're very similar to the Knicks. The Knicks almost kind of played themselves a little bit in that series, with playing a team that star was a point guard and everybody else was just a role player that knew how to play. In the way that the Knicks could beat you up a little bit, Indiana could run you out the building, like you said, Seltzer, earlier with their pace. And I'm surprised that carried into the postseason the way it has.
I've actually been surprised not only with the fact that that's transitioned into or been successful in their transition, but they're tougher than I thought they were.
Oh yeah, I agree. With that.
They took the Knicks punch and they punched back. So I was impressed with their toughness. We didn't mention Aaron Nesmith revenge series, by the way, for the Indiana Pacers. All right, quickly we'll do our MVP of the playoffs thus far, and then we'll move into segment 3. I'll open it up. I think it's easy to go Anthony Edwards. And if you're asking me, I think he's the breakout star of the playoffs. But to me, it's very rare that a player on a losing team is the MVP. To me, it's still been Jalen Brunson. The job that he did for the Knicks in the Sixers series, even in that Pacers series, the amount of clutch baskets that guy made was crazy to me. Chris, you mentioned him as an MVP candidate regular season. He was just unbelievable in the playoffs. I still at this point would say it's him, but Edwards has been the breakout star.
Yeah, I would agree with that also. I think Edwards for me, is the MVP so far. I mean, like I said, he was struggling throughout a lot of that game last night. And then when it mattered the most in the fourth quarter, he just turned it on and just willed those guys in that comeback. And I think they all just fed off his energy. They always do, and when it came to that, and he showed that he had that grit and that never say die attitude, it carried to the rest of the team. I mean, there's dogs like Cat that all of a sudden are looking like lions, looking like true Timberwolves, if I may say so. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, he's turned a lot of those guys into winners, and they look the part.
Yep. Al?
I was actually going to go in a similar direction. I thought to myself that Brunson is the MVP of these playoffs so far, but I'll still take Ant because he's still in it. I mean, look, he has 3 40-point games so far in these playoffs. He has a plus 86 in the last series and the 4 wins. He's the guy that Minnesota can't do this without him, man. They just can't. So for him to have that team in the position to make their first NBA Finals as a franchise, I got to give him the MVP.
And Luka's right there too, by the way.
Luka is right there. I looked at him long and hard too.
Yeah,
he's averaging basically a triple-double right now in the playoffs, which is insane. That's insane.
I want to say, and I'm sure this will probably be a different topic for a different day, but I'm here for the Kyrie revenge in Boston for an NBA title. Like,
That would be fun.
Would love to see it.
That would
can
be
you
fun.
imagine the stage that he's going to be spraying on that court for that? For the NBA Finals for Larry O'Brien? What?
Yeah, I had
That's good TV.
I'll tell you what, Luca and Ant is going to be fantastic.
Yeah. Anybody but Boston, man. Anybody but Boston.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump into segment 3. Al, you put something together tonight. I've called it AI versus AI.
Yep.
So you want to give the fans a little briefing of what we got going on?
All right, so we got AI or AI. And the way this works is I've looked up some of AI's more memorable quotes, Allen Iverson's more memorable quotes as a 76er from his time in Philadelphia. And I've also asked ChatGPT to create quotes that sound like Allen Iverson said them.
Now, is there audio in this segment?
Well, dude, there's not, because I couldn't find all the audio for all the quotes that I found. And then also I remembered back to when we did like the music segments and like we couldn't hear it anyway. So that is, one thing that, maybe in the future I will look at trying to get all of the sound clips together. But what you're going to do is you're going to hear a quote and you're going to have to tell me whether it's AI Allen Iverson or AI artificial intelligence. Which AI is it? All right. Now I have 3 categories. I have quotes about Philadelphia. I have quotes about Larry Brown. And then I have just general grab bag quotes. So we're going to start with the quotes about Philadelphia. Chris, we're going to get started with you. All right. So here's quote number 1. Is this AI or is this AI? In Philly, the cheers are louder, the boos are fiercer, and the love is deeper. It's a city that lives and breathes basketball. Is that AI or AI, Chris?
I think that's Iverson.
That's Iverson.
Yeah.
Now, should we go to both of you?
How many do you have total?
I got.
Yeah, I would kick it. I'd kick it to both of us and then reveal at the end of that.
I got like 20 something.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go AI, artificial intelligence.
Well, that's correct, Adam. That is artificial intelligence mimicking Allen Iverson. So he never said those words. It sounds like it, though. A lot. Listen, these are dead on. AI is getting there. It's smart. All right, next quote, Adam. You're going to start this one. Philadelphia isn't just a city. It's a state of mind. Once you've felt the pulse of Philly, you're never the same.
I'm going to say that's also artificial intelligence.
I'm going to say that's also Iverson.
Guess you're not good at this game.
Maybe the AI is just incredibly intelligent.
That was also
Iverson.
Artificial intelligence. Seltzer, you're up 2-0, taking early 2-0 lead.
I'm about to do the old school just pick C for every multiple choice answer.
The trick here is that there's no Iverson quotes.
Yeah, they're all fake.
There's going to be a couple Mutombo quotes thrown in.
Want to go to LA with me?
Next quote. They say New York never sleeps, but Philly never stops believing. The passion here is relentless, and I thrive on it.
That's completely artificial intelligence.
That sounds like artificial intelligence to me too.
What's the thought there? Like what? Like why?
I'm just like picturing Iverson at a press conference, and I just can't see him saying.
Honestly, it's probably going to end up being Iverson, but it just sounds like something corny that he wouldn't say.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, you both got that one. So that was artificial intelligence. So we're up. We got Adam is up 3-1. All right. The next quote is, "I'm from Virginia, but Philadelphia is the only place that's ever accepted me as one of their own."
That sounds like Iverson.
You got to pick an Iverson at some point.
Yeah, we're due.
Question.
Yeah. I tried to throw you off with the 3 in a row to start, but this one is an actual Iverson quote. You can definitely hear him saying this one. You can see him saying, bringing up the Virginia roots.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next one. The city of brotherly love. It's more than a nickname. It's a way of life. I'll always be grateful for what Philly gave me.
Chris, you're first on this one. Can you repeat that?
Sure. The city of brotherly love. It's more than a nickname. It's a way of life. I'll always be grateful for what Philly gave me.
It's a tough one.
See, I'm caught up now in playing the pattern, and that's not the way to go.
You got to play the Iverson.
Play the AI.
Play
the AI guest.
I'm going to say intelligence.
Okay.
I'm going to go Iverson.
That was said by Allen Iverson himself. And as I was reading that, I was thinking that one kind of sounds corny. Like that one.
Yeah, that did sound a little bit.
Yeah.
But that was said by Iverson. So Seltzer, you're up what? 4-1?
5-0. Or 5-1.
Jesus.
5-2. I got 2.
Yeah, 5-2.
All right. Next one is Philly made me who I am. The grit, the toughness, it's all part of my DNA now.
That's AI. That's intelligence.
I'm saying that's Iverson.
Guess, did you listen to any Iverson press conferences?
Dude, I don't. It's a 50-50 crapshoot, dude. I don't know.
It is. That was Iverson. That was also Iverson. I think the grit part. He seems like the kind of guy that talks about grit quite often.
Maybe grits.
And grits.
Yeah. Especially
I had shrimp and grits the other day for breakfast at First Watch. You guys
Ooh, First Watch. It's a good spot. You go to the one by me in Audubon?
No. We got a couple down here now. So I have one right on like. I'll tell you this though, not good.
No,
was not good.
Oh, you got to go to the right First Watch.
No. The shrimp and grits usually First Watch.
Oh. I was gonna say. Oh, okay.
Yeah, but shrimp and grits left a lot to be desired. The portions were small. It looked really lazily put together. I was not happy.
I wouldn't even get the scrimps at the First Watch.
You know what it was? She sold me on it. It was the special, and she was like, "These specials end this week." I was like, I gotta get them.
This could be a life-changing event. I gotta capitalize.
Yeah, I was disappointed, dude. All right, last quote about Philadelphia. Philadelphia's love is tough but true. It's where you earn your stripes, where you prove your worth, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
That's intelligence.
that's Iverson again.
Guess you got one back here. That's AI, artificial intelligence. So you bring it to within, I think you're within 3, right? Is it 6-3?
I think it's 7. How many did you have there? I missed one.
I had 7 quotes.
I think it's
6,
7.
6,
I think it's 7. I think it's not 7-3.
6-3. It's 6-3.
6-3. All right, we're done.
All right, these next quotes are him talking about Larry Brown. Or it's AI talking about Larry Brown.
You might be AI right now for all we know.
Just making them up as I go. I have the utmost respect for Coach Brown. He's a legend in the game, and he's taught me so much about basketball and life.
Go ahead, Chris.
Say it again.
I have the utmost respect for Coach Brown. He's a legend in the game, and he's taught me so much about basketball and life.
I'm going to say that's Iverson.
So I will say this. Regardless of whether or not it's Iverson or AI, Iverson was a big utmost guy. He said utmost a lot. So I'm going Iverson here.
That's good Iverson knowledge. That's like Hamels saying, He's saying
Victorino. Victorino was the guy.
What was Hamels like? Did he say like all the time?
I think Hamels was the like guy.
Yeah.
Victorino was
California stuff. Yeah.
So listen, Seltzer, that's correct. That is Iverson. And that's good. Now I'm looking through the rest of the quotes I have here to see if there's any more utmost. Like to censor those out. All right. Next one. Coach Brown's decisions can be frustrating, but I guess that's why they call it coaching and not playing.
I think that's AI.
Yeah, that's definitely artificial intelligence.
Coach Brown's decisions can be utmost frustrating. that is AI. That is artificial intelligence. Good call.
So I also think, again, this is my Iverson knowledge. Post Sixers called him Coach Brown, but I think in his career he always would just call him Coach.
Coach. He would say Coach a lot.
9-5.
Yeah. All right, ready? There are days when I wish Coach Brown would give me more freedom on the court, but until then, I'll just keep playing my game and hoping he sees what I bring to the table.
Okay, I'm going to stick with my theme here. I'm saying it's AI, artificial intelligence.
Yeah, I'm going to say intelligence.
That's also artificial intelligence. That's correct.
He ain't saying nothing like that.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Yeah.
All right. Last one for Coach Brown. We've had our disagreements, but at the end of the day, I know he wants what's best for me and for the team. We both have a common goal, and that's winning.
I'll say Iverson there.
I'm going to say intelligence.
That's Iverson. That was Iverson on the challenges and mutual respect in his relationship with Coach Brown.
Okay.
Seltzer, I think you're up 5, I want to say.
10-5.
I got 1 point on him there. If he
10-5.
missed one, I ran the table.
It should be 10-5.
The last round are quotes that are just random grab bag. These are all worth 5 points. So guess you can catch up. You can catch up pretty quickly here.
Let Tawana tell you that. We should have Mama Iverson quotes.
First one is, you can't stop what you can't see, and you definitely can't see me.
That's intelligence.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going intelligence.
That's Iverson during his playing days expressing his confidence in his abilities on the basketball court.
Wow.
That
does not sound like him.
No.
Yeah, that was actually Allen Iverson. All right, next quote. I'm from Virginia. Wait, hold on. I'm going to mess this up. I already said that one. I didn't choose basketball. Basketball chose me. It's my way out, my way up, my way of life.
That sounds like an Iverson quote.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm going Iverson.
That's AI. You guys are starting to fall off now. See, now I made them work 5 points, and now look what's happening.
Yeah.
The pressure's on.
All right, next one. I've been knocked down, counted out, but I always rise. The comeback is always stronger than the setback.
I'm going to say Iverson.
I'm saying intelligence.
Yeah, actually, I want to change, but I'll stick with my guns because I'm already locked in here.
Guess you've tied the game. That's a big 5 points for you, buddy. That is AI, artificial intelligence. All right, the next quote. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth, but I sure was born with a basketball in my hands.
It's a great quote. I think that's intelligence.
I'm going intelligence as well.
That's an Iverson quote. That's Iverson.
Ice cold.
Iverson reflecting on his upbringing and journey to the NBA, though there isn't a specific date or place associated with the quote.
Hey, that could go from that could be a bogus quote.
Here's the catch. Even the real Iverson quotes, I asked ChatGPT to produce for me.
This game is all of a sudden skewed.
Yeah, so we don't know. All right, next quote is, I may not be perfect, but I'm real. I'd rather be hated for who I am than loved for who I'm not.
That's very Iverson.
Yeah, I agree.
That's very AI. That's very
oh my God.
So wait a minute. Did you just type in to the bot Iverson quotes?
So I typed in Iverson quotes, right? And I got a list of actual Iverson quotes. And I asked for like times and places, and it didn't give me times and places, but it gave me like background context. Then I typed, give me quotes that sound like Iverson said them. And it came with a disclaimer along the lines of like, it's very hard to do this, but like, whatever, here you go. And dude, and they were all so lame and like, they were all corny. So I had to type in, I need more grit, which is what I typed in. And then it started giving me more Iverson sound. And then I typed in, I need still more grit. And then it gave me what you're hearing in this segment.
Jesus Christ.
That's how I got it.
Wow.
All right. I got a few more here. Not too many more. The next quote is, when the lights come on, that's when I shine the brightest. Pressure, what pressure?
I think that's intelligence.
I'm going Iverson.
Seltzer,
Actually,
you've regained the lead.
I was going to say, I thought about that at the end. And I was like, we'll switch it. But
You've regained the lead. That is actually Allen Iverson. It says this was reflective of his high-pressure mentality during high-pressure moments in games, reflective of his playing style and confidence. All right. I don't need a playbook. I write my own rules on the court.
Intelligence.
I'm going to say Iverson.
That would be artificial intelligence. Seltzer takes a 10-point lead, and we only have 3 to go here. All right, the next quote is, when they say I can't, I show them I can. That's been my story from day one.
I mean, I'm going to stay with intelligence.
I'm going to go Iverson.
Guest, you're back in it.
Oh,
You're back in it. That was artificial intelligence, which brings me to the last two quotes of the evening. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to win games. If you can't handle that, then get out of my way.
That's AI. That's intelligence.
yeah. AI, you're saying intelligence?
Yeah.
I'm going to go Iverson.
That was Iverson.
Really?
That was actually an Allen Iverson quote. It says reflected. It says it was talking about his competitive nature and focus on winning.
Yeah, AI can't get that gritty. That
had to be in the beginning of his career, I would imagine.
Possibly.
I wouldn't think he would say that when he had a lot to lose being a made dude.
Yeah, but it could be. All right, last one. This is worth 20 points, guys. So you're not out of it just yet. You can still take the crown. What are we talking about? Practice. We're talking about practice, man. We're talking about practice. We're talking about practice. That's not the last quote.
I was going to say that's
the last quote. All right. Which AI is it? I've always been willing to sacrifice personal glory for the success of the team. That's what it's all about. Which AI?
That's intelligence.
Yeah, I'm going intelligence.
Well, here at the Three of the Keystone podcast, we like to throw a curveball with the last question in these quizzes. And the hint here that I tried to give you was that it was the only question, the only quote where I started off with, which AI is it? And it's not Allen Iverson.
Andre Iguodala?
It's not artificial intelligence. It's the man himself, former Sixer, Andre Iguodala, reflecting on his team first mentality.
I was going to say there's no way Iverson would say that.
that was a great way to end it.
That was the most anti-Iverson quote ever, dude. There's no way he was ever going to say that. He couldn't get through that. There's no way.
No. Now, I will say this. What you did was we should have, like, now that you have that ability to do that, or all of us at this point, we got to do this game with like King Kong Bundy or like somebody off the wall. Like did King Kong Bundy say this quote, or was this AI?
Or was it King Kong?
The Godzilla vs. Kong. Who said, or AI?
Well, listen, with AI, the possibilities are endless. You could type anything in that thing.
I told Sarah, because obviously both of us being teachers and you also, you see how like what AI can do, but she's still like a little bit apprehensive about it, and I'm like, you got to get on the train.
Yeah,
it's not going anywhere.
I got
to make you like more successful and easier to have your easier lifestyle, because
this has to be what it was like when the advent of the internet came about. And teachers probably didn't know how to handle that. And people in general, nobody knew how to handle that. And I don't even mean like the 1996 internet. I mean like when like high speed, like all that stuff was like readily available, video streaming that, you know what I mean, was at your fingertips. Like that had to be such a mind-blowing shift for educators as it was for everybody. But yeah, AI, tell her she has to embrace it, because it is not going anywhere. And we're just going to have to be using those tools every day in the classroom.
Yeah, there's a site actually where I don't know if it's only for schools or not, but you can actually type in a historical person and have an AI generated conversation.
Yeah.
So like we used it for I saw the example of it that was actually done in a history class, and they put in Amelia Earhart, and the kids could actually have a conversation like a AIM chat with Amelia Earhart.
I'm sure they have it too, where you can have the chat though like this, where they're actually speaking, because now with AI you can take our voice. If someone captures us talking for like, it's like a minute.
Well, I think it's even 2 hours. I thought there's one site where it's, if you have a voice for 2 hours, you can generate that voice to say anything.
Yeah, they were messing with it on Preston and Steve last week, and they were playing a bunch of clips they made Preston say as AI, and it was absolutely perfect. You could not tell the difference. It's scary, dude.
Yeah.
It's the world we live in. Listen, I mean, 10, 15 years from now, we're going to have a whole bunch of new technology that we're going to go in. We might be podcasting in the same room, being in different houses. You never know.
And you know what else is scary? You talk about podcasting. 2 weeks, boys.
Episode 100.
2 weeks.
Episode 100. So, listen, if you guys have any ideas, something you want to, we're brainstorming to do something special here, but if you have any recommendations,
well, maybe we just take the night off and have the bots run it.
Yeah. That might not be
which bots?
Well, hey, stay tuned.
But listen, next week, episode 99, a special Memorial Day episode.
Yeah, you might say
it might be having some libations during the day. You never know what could happen.
Oh, a lot of libations are gonna be happening this summer when the school's out. Say that much. You might say episode 99 will be a great one.
We're gonna look at you.
Or perhaps a wild one.
We're gonna do guest quotes, drunk or sober guest.
Or AI. Guest for AI.
All right, on that note, we will drop that beat. Have a good Memorial Day weekend.